We are back here with more Dungeons and Dragons. At the moment, our heroes, Anise and Penelope, are adventure questing their way through the forest outside of the Einsborn Castle in Germany to help the last Einsborn homunculi recover the castle from a giant tree vampire. Also, there is Kwaku, the nice spider yokai. You've come up with a plan to defeat this big monster tree that involves going to the ley line surrounding the castle and redirecting the mana flow away from the castle to starve it out. There's 3 locations that you've identified as viable places to cut it off at, and it's kind of understood that you're going to need to redirect at least 2 of them. You went to the first one, which was near the rider statue. You managed to redirect the mana from that region. When you did that, the trees started to recover some of their actual color. The 2 remaining locations that were pinpointed as key feeding into the castle ley lines, Echoviel told you it has the Berserker statue. Causes madness to anyone who gets too close to it. The third and final one is actually on the other side of the castle from where everything that you've seen is. Echo told you that that side is haunted. Maybe we'll leave that one alone and just take care of the front one and then see what we can do about the tree. We're gonna move on to the Berserker one. You're walking through the woods. Yes, you can both see that it's kind of a haze effect. When you touch the statues, whatever was going on was always way more obvious. Here you can sense a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be very strong. To your right, you can see the path is forking ahead to the left and to the right. There's also yet another of those 10 to 15-ish foot cliff things immediately to your left that goes to an elevated area. You can't really see up on there at your height. Both of the paths ahead do go between trees. The one on the right goes through trees that are a little bit closer together right now. The one on the left seems a little more open from at least the angle you're at. And then of course there's just the water on the top right, which is mostly frozen. It's up to you if you want to try walking on it.
I will move a little forward.
From there, you've got a little bit more of an angle to see, so that's good.
I guess I'll call back to the group. I think the Berserker statue is on that cliff.
It hasn't been long enough that your spider climb would run out. You're actually making pretty decent time through here. It helps that you actually have someone who lives here as a guide. You're going a lot faster than you did for the first leg of it.
With my spider climb, I'll move up cliff.
As you're climbing up there, you can do a perception roll because it makes more sense that way. Oh, well. Anise, with your 20, from this slightly elevated position, you can see a bit further up over the trees. And you can see that the castle is ahead. You could get there by taking the path to the right. The main door of the castle is open, just as it was when you saw in the fireplace vision. You can actually see that from here because you rolled a perfect perception. The path to the left, you can see from going here, goes towards a part of the woods that's a little bit more dead looking. You're like, that's probably haunted. You also notice from up here, there are some things nearby.
Those woods ahead look very haunted.
I don't feel like living through a Stephen King novel today, so let's not go through the woods. Penelope's gonna walk over to the lake. Oh no!
Penelope, hold on, come back. There's some scary-looking beings right at the edge of the water.
There's 4 of them near the water. You can see that one near you.
There's also a plant monster, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's over on this side of the cliff.
Okay, so the lake is probably a bad idea then.
The final thing that you can see with your super high perception roll, Echoviel's pulled out her bow. She's knocking an arrow, but as far as you can tell, she hasn't seen any of them yet. She's sort of pointing the bow in different directions. Maybe she knows something's up but doesn't know where. And occasionally as she's doing that, she actually ends up pointing the bow at Kwaku and at yourself and at Penelope. Your half-elven eyes have seen much.
Calm down. There are 4 over by the lake, and there's one over here in the trees, but they don't look like they're attacking. They just look like they're observing.
Something dangerous is here. It might be them. It might be all of you. Now that I think about it, you're all new and dangerous. At any rate, is that statue up there where it's supposed to be?
I guess I need to investigate or perceive the statue to make sure it doesn't look weird. And
yeah, you can investigate it.
Holy shit!
Okay. Anise, with your 20, investigating the statue, you can see that similar to the other ones before, it has words on it. This one has Madness Enhancement written on it. Because you rolled really high, you notice that this one actually does have some runes on it that look like they were maybe done in a really dark brown paste of some kind. You can recall that the caster one was sabotaged in a similar manner using the blood of ice mephits. This one's brown, which doesn't take a huge jump based on the fact that you can see the ones near the water are more muddy. Also, just from looking at it here, you can feel it pushing on your emotions too. You know you're supposed to be immune to it because you're wearing the robe, but it seems to be pushing even past the robe now. You notice that Echo's like pointing that arrow in a bunch of different directions, and that makes you a little bit nervous, like maybe she can't be trusted. But because of a combination of your being a half-elf, which means you have some resistance to this in the first place, and you're knowing exactly how the statue works and what's going on, you get a sense that it's actually just pushing your insecurities. Doesn't take a huge leap of logic to realize it's not doing what it's supposed to.
Right, well, definitely won't be able to cast the ritual with it being like this. So out comes the teapot, pour some water in, produce flame, heat it up, dunk it on the statue.
That has the desired effect. It does wash the blood off of it. And when it does, the mephits immediately start moving forward. Like, they're not happy about that. Like, you're ruining their party or something.
Oh, the mud monsters are advancing.
Also, when you do this, like, whatever that haze was went away. You don't feel that push on you anymore. And, like, you can actually see Echo seem to calm down a little bit, too. Penelope and Kwaku were never affected by either one. They seem totally normal. Raps is unaffected. As far as you could tell, the bird's just a bird.
Well, that,
And now we can actually just roll initiative proper. Rocking that 20 initiative. Anise is up first.
all right. I will cast Entangle on Mud Muppet number 2.
You just called a mud puppet.
Yep, that's what they're called now. I just made it harder to climb up the cliff area for around 20 feet around where the Muppet is.
Oh, like that, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe I just didn't aim it properly, and that's why it didn't get entangled.
Hey, you just made its life a lot harder. Like, even if it's not entangled, it still has to go through it. It's now the bird's turn. The bird has definitely learned the dangers of being around things. And so it's going to fly back up here with you, where it is allegedly safer. Let's see what this one's gonna do. Not that it sort of crawls its way across at you. You can see it a lot closer now because it's obviously getting closer to you. It's made out of mud. It sort of squicks and squirrels around. It's almost a liquid in some ways, but it splopped its way over at you. When it's about 5 feet away, it just sort of looms forward, all of a sudden goes blah. A bunch of mud flies out of its mouth onto you. Yeah, it's gross.
I rolled a 23.
It didn't affect you. You got the sense when the mud hit you that it's starting to harden on you, but you managed to shake it off way too fast before it could actually impact you any. Thankfully, all of those years of bardic training taught you how to shimmy well, and you just shimmied it right off, and then it solidified when it hit the ground. Mrrr. Raps doesn't like that thing just spit at you.
It's okay, Raps. I don't like that it did that either.
Yeah, that would definitely hit. Raps is not messing around. Raps is very unhappy with this thing. So when Raps hits it, it actually leaves a big fist-shaped indention directly in its face. It just collapses in on it. Its eyes sort of bulge out like it was almost punching a claymation creature. And it doesn't immediately reshape as soon as that punch is over. Unfortunately for it, Raps is a hit you twice kind of guy. He hits it twice, and now it is somehow still whatever passes for alive, but it is not in a good place. Every time Raps punches it, more and more of it just splats off, but it's not dead. It's just really hurt. Now, this one's going to run right up to you, and it's going to try to do the same thing. The mud flies off of this one, and this time, having seen what happened before, you're able to sort of do like a dance move sidestep on this one. It just goes right past you and hits the wall, such as your halfling majesty. Yeah, so that one failed at getting you thanks to your halfling luck. And now it's your turn.
Oh god. I'm gonna stab it.
You can actually stab either one if you want.
I'm gonna stab the one right in front of me.
You did hit it.
3 damage.
Stibbity stab, you got it. Yep, you managed to poke a hole right through it. You saw a little bit of it squirt right out its back as if you'd stabbed it way, way harder than you should, and then you realize, oh wait, it's mud. Checks out though, it's losing mud quickly.
Yay.
Next, and now it's number 2, down there in the plants. Let's see how well these things can climb. I don't think they're very good at it. I mean, they're just a pile of mud. Nope, being made of mud gives it no special advantage on climbing. I guess it has wings, so it's going to try to flap up, but I'm still going to honor the bad terrain. You're high up enough that even if it's flying, it can't make that angle without flying through the stuff. So it's going to try to go around instead. It's going to dash its way up here, but it doesn't get an attack. Your next, last Mud Muppet, it's going to try to attack an old lady. But it's going to try to spit on her, because spit and mud's what they do. They are rude like that. Let's see if her amazing evasion is up there with halfling gymnastics. Nope. And her disorientation from the weird statue effect, she gets covered in the mud, which rapidly hardens around her body and sort of locks her in place. She is now restrained, and will be so for a moment. All right, up next, we got Kwaku. Kwaku's going to... He summons an ice dagger and chucks it into the Mephit that was attacking Echo. Clearly the most dangerous of the lot, since the other two can't even lock a halfling in place, but this one went after an old lady, making it clearly the MVP of the mud monsters. Alright, so she's restrained. Let's try to not be restrained. She still got out. Like, even with disadvantage, she hit her 10, so she's fine. Stop being restrained. Cut that out. You got mud on my only outfit! I don't even have a shower! She's gonna take a shot at the one over elsewhere, since using your bow against things that are right next to you is a bad idea. Alright, so she shoots it. The arrow goes right through its head. Kind of like in a video game when you defeat the monster and it just bursts into, you know, defeat. That's what this one does, only that bubble of defeat goes flying around everyone in its proximity. Now, Penelope is a god, so Penelope's fine. You've actually just had a breakdancing turn. You're just dodging things. You're weaving between mud left and right. The mud likewise flew over at Raps, who unexpectedly, for Raps' size, you actually saw Raps do the Matrix thing, where he leans back and it went right over him, and then leans right back up. A thing that he probably couldn't do if he actually had a skeleton. And then even the Mephit to its right, the mud goes flying right over it too, like it knew this was going to happen someday. Jerry was always made to explode, and it finally happened. And with that, Mud Muppet 4 is dead. Kwaku's next. Kwaku's going to try once again to do the ice dagger dance. Kwaku's good for a hit once in a while. Kwaku's just continually chucking these ice daggers at the one that's right in front of Echo. He seems to be having an easier time hitting these things than giant skeleton snakes for some reason. Every time an ice dagger hits it, it just stays there. Mephit 1 has regained its use of its mud breath. It do what it do. At this point, I think it's the goal of every Muppet to cover specifically Penelope in mud. But it's not happening. Things are not going the way that Mud Muppet 1 thought they were going to go. It's gonna be a stupid thing and try to back away, allowing you and Raps to take a swing at it if you so desire.
Gonna hit it.
At the stabby. And now Raps is gonna hit it. I don't know why it has advantage punching slime. I need to figure that out later because it's funny. Blam! He made it pay for running away. So yeah, that one's not looking great now. Mud Muppet 1 is having a terrible day. It did what it came to do poorly, and now it's trying to escape. This one, on the other hand, is going before you, and it's rolling in to attack. Alright, so now the Mud Mephit's gonna try to spit its mud on you. You avoided it totally. Well, that was its exciting run-up and turn. Anise is up.
I guess I'm gonna stab it.
Similar to like when you're playing with Play-Doh and you are separating two chunks of Play-Doh, you just sort of brought that down on the thing and like half of it just fell off. It's still alive, but like clearly it's missing some pieces.
Facing it with the halberd out, can I like move to here? To be beside the statue? So I'm not right at the edge of the cliff.
I think you can do that. Raps is up. That's a myrrh. So it's gonna splat. Raps is not bothered by this. Blah. Raps just sort of does that no-cell turn and back, like, what is this? Raps is now going to continue the movement and continue the violence. Raps is here to do damage because that's all Raps knows how to do.
But he does his best.
Aw, but this one he missed. Brr. The bird's turn! Get him, bird! The fun thing is that the bird can only do 1 damage. It's not a roll. Yep, it got a peck in. It knows better than to leave its range. It's just gonna quiver up here. Penelope time!
Penelope's gonna go stab it. Don't go at him. She's in the same spot as Raps.
She can do that.
She's gonna like just appear around his leg and then just like try and stab at the other mud thing. Damn it.
Unfortunately, it's hard to stab things between Raps' legs. Mud Mephit 3 did not recharge its mud breath. Is going to actually just try to actually hit someone because this mud breath game is not working out. It's still most afraid of Raps. It's going to try to attack Raps. It's got tiny little mud fists, right? And it's like punching it at the shins. It goes near you. It does no damage at all because it was resisted, because it rolled a 1. It turns out it's actually really hard to punch silk. That's just not fair. It thinks to itself, and then it tries to flee. You get another shot, Penelope, if you want to stibbity stabbity. Oh, the violence. Yep, that is a critical hit. Oh, it's a max damage critical. Raps is also going to hit it. Squish. Okay, so it's going to burst. So it gets to splat at the 3 of you. Echoviel manages to dodge this one, but the 2 of you who went in for the violence got mud on you for your trouble. You are restrained for 1 turn, but all of the methods down there are dead. That doesn't mean much, it just means your brand new white outfit has got mud on it. Mud Mephit 2 went first. Mud Mephit 2 doesn't have a mud spit attack anymore, so it's just going to actually attack Anise. It makes its little angry mud claws and it goes wabap! And it hits you. It's going to try to fly away from this situation. It just saw out of the side of its mud eye, its 3 friends explode, and you just cut it in half, so it's sort of limping off to the woods now. It's Echo's turn. Echo's going to shoot an arrow at that thing. So she lines up a shot, and unfortunately, as she shoots it forward, the arrow goes right through the part that you cleaved off earlier, so it doesn't actually hit it. It's Penelope's turn. You're restrained. You can try to get out of being restrained. Actually, I don't even think you have to roll. I think it just expires. Raps is up. It's the bird's turn. The bird is not going to fly after it. It's Anise's turn.
I'm going to produce flame at it. Oh, that hit.
Yeah.
Cool. Dang.
Oh, it's burning. That hurt a lot. You can see bits and pieces of it hardening and breaking off like clay put in a kiln without being properly dried first. Kwaku actually has to get closer and shoot up. There you go, he did it. And because it's floating up in the air, it explodes mud in all directions, but it just sort of falls to the ground. I tried to put it out. It's out now.
Good job, Kwaku.
I don't know why these things are here, but... Well, that's, I guess... Are you okay up there? Are there any more?
Those 4 were the only ones I saw.
Okay, do you need us to come up and help you do the ritual, or should we stay down here and keep an eye out?
Nope, I think everything's fine. Just gonna sit right down right here and do the ritual.
You want me to come up there anyway?
If you can, I guess.
Do you want Raps to carry you up?
She's just gonna look at Raps and be like, help me.
Raps is gonna grab you. Up you go.
Are you riding on his shoulders?
Yes.
Yeah, these 2 are just
Alright.
gonna kind of back to back and keep an eye on the woods.
I've got my knife.
I am in good hands. Alright, ritual time.
Cool
I'll
job.
draw my circle around the statue, sit down beside it, cross-legged, make myself a cup of tea.
Passes your way. Alright, so your ritual has begun. You get to start rolling your nature checks.
I'm gonna guidance myself first.
You can. Okay, so yeah, that's a very strong start. Where are you going to send the mana this time? The way that it works in the geomancy, you can point it in different forks in different directions, but you can't point it uphill. Before, the one that you got to was far enough up that you could redirect it to the saber statue. Here, you're close enough to the castle that you kind of got 3 choices. You can point it to the left, which is off towards like the spooky haunted woods, where it will run into the other, intake line. You can point it to the right, which is out over the lake. From your experience in the past doing things like this, you know that if the mana is redirected into a big water source like that, it'll actually get distributed through the whole area a little more effectively, which might actually help with the recovery faster. Or you could point it essentially down. You could point it deeper under the castle, so that instead of going up through the surface area where the trees are, you'd be pointing it straight down into the stone, which presumably the tree roots don't reach it, so it wouldn't be able to draw on it, but it would be a lot closer to the castle for later if you decided to restore it. It'd just be a little bit easier.
I'll put it at the lake.
You, as someone who have studied from the lake in many ways, with your, neat ties to Fey magic, you understand the power of being nice to the lake, especially in Europe. Okay, so yeah, you point it at the lake, and when you do, you definitely can see that even faster than last time, the color starts to return to the area. The trees themselves are pulling it out of the water well and recovering a lot faster. So that was your first roll. Give it another. So yeah, you're actually doing a really solid job of restoring life in the place. It's getting a little greener. Now give us one more roll. At this point, you can actually feel something else is sort of tugging against you. Something is pulling it back towards the castle. You might actually be in a bit of a tug of war right now. Now that it's contested, you get to roll again, and it will be rolling against you. You can actually feel that whatever is out there is starting to wrestle it back away from the lake. The colors are getting a bit darker again, and now it is your turn again.
That's better.
That is much better. Metaphorically, you managed to actually grip the ley line and yank it almost forcefully away from this thing, and you stick it back in the water where it belongs.
Not this time, bitch.
Which is an entertaining thing for Penelope to see you saying while doing her very holy-looking druidic ritual.
Bitch-ass tree, get out of here with that.
The bitch tree is fighting back.
I'm going to grant you bardic inspiration.
Woohoo!
The lyrics are all just various forms of, you got this, you can do it. You're a badass boss bitch druid.
I am a boss-ass bitch druid.
Alright, give it a roll. That's enough to keep it on the lake, but not enough to force it out of the grip of the other thing. You're going to have to push it a little bit harder than that to break through. And now it's going to try back. That is a 20.
Oh no.
It is definitely fighting this back at you. With that tug, Penelope, give me an perception roll. As the world is shifting in colors around you, you can actually see something happening.
No, not another one, Jesus.
You can see those things are there. They're not attacking you, but they are glaring. Maybe you're angering Papa Tree.
Guys, we've got some trouble up here.
Okay, I know we just met, but here we go. And he grabs Echo and runs up the wall.
Yeah, no, we got more of these things in the trees. They don't look very happy. They actually look kind of pissed.
Oh, wow, yeah, this ritual is probably getting their attention. Raps, why don't you get in the way? A fight is not broken out yet, but you are free to position yourself accordingly. All right, so you rolled a 10 on that one. That's enough for you to get the colors back again. You don't feel it forcefully tug back at you this time. You both seem to be getting tired, but you're actually holding even tug of war.
See some sweat starting to drip.
Okay, now do another check. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so you actually managed to slap it proverbial hands off the ley line. It loses its grip entirely, and you actually, for the first time in this whole bit, can feel yourself directing this entire ley line the way you see fit. And you latch it into the lake. And when you do, you can actually feel, like, with that level of proficiency. Again, you don't see this in the real world, but you can sense it in the ley line. You can feel the lake is kind of opening up, almost like a giant hand is grabbing it and pulling it under. You don't actually have to hold this anymore. The lake has it. You can also feel through the ground a rumbling that signifies to you that something is angry.
I open my eyes and I go, hi, I'm a boss-ass bitch, and that tree is just a bitch.
You're right, but also it sent its bitch friends.
Yeah, its bitch friends are not happy.
Yeah, I imagine I was facing the castle, so I just kind of turn and look over my shoulder and go, ah.
You have sufficiently angered the tree, and finally, after blooming and looking at you all of these times, these things have decided that they've had enough of you, and you're redirecting of ley lines, so they're poking out. It's Penelope's turn.
Penelope is going to cast Silent Image in that, like, 3 blocks that are basically the closest to them.
Okay.
Going to make it look like there's fire.
Okay, you're gonna create a fake fire and like a line in front of them?
Yeah.
There you go. Is that about how you wanted it?
Yep. I am gonna back up to be like, nope.
Alright, it is Echo's turn. Echo is going to, once again, attempt to violence.
Get him, Echo.
She very successfully took a look over, saw where Raps was, and decided, yeah, I could do this. She leaned down and shot an arrow right under Raps' right arm. Went right into the forehead of the blight on the other side, and now it's just sticking out of its forehead like some kind of weird archery unicorn. But its face is all split up from the arrow. It's not happy. Anise's turn.
I guess I'm going to use all my movement to stand up and turn around and face them. And I'm going to produce flame at it, but it missed.
Alas. Raps time. Now the real question is, does Raps realize that's an illusion? No.
Oh, no.
No, Raps does not.
Oh no.
Raps walks around the fire. Violence. Blam, it's dead.
Wow.
He punched the back of that arrow and just dove it all the way through its head. Okay, that one he just outright killed.
Amazing.
Blam! So yeah, Raps just walked forward and with one hand punched the big one and then stepped forward and punched the other one. And they're both dead. And now Twigblight 3 is questioning a lot. And it's Twigblight 3's turn. And like between the fire and the big guy, this is not ideal. It's just gonna go back into the woods and try to hide. If you want to chase down the Twigblight, you can, but they're really hard to see now that you brought all the nature back. You've secured the second ley line. You've definitely alerted the tree to your presence. And the castle is within sight. You're all up here so you can see it. It's not far away.
I suppose the question now is if we want to go straight to the tree, or if we want to go into the haunted woods, do third ritual.
Would the third ritual help?
It's an excellent question. What would I roll to find out what the answer to that question is? Nature?
Yeah, you can roll nature to try to guess the consequences of doing that.
Oh!
Even with the 1, you know that the tree is now relying entirely on mana from the haunted woods. You don't know if that's good or bad for it.
We will assuredly encounter ghosts in the haunted woods.
Ooh.
However, we do still have those earrings that
Yeah, you're right. We do have those.
What was his name? Canada Man.
The Crosby.
The Crosby gave us that will let us hit ghosts. Going into the woods and redirecting the ley line would cut the tree off of all of the mana entirely and make it weak. Or we could just fight it at a third of its strength.
The woods behind the castle are most assuredly haunted. I'm not a necromancer, so I don't know the full details, but my understanding of it is that most of the original Einsburns killed themselves there, and that tends to leave an impression on a place. I know that for a time, they actually chained one of the servants there, because it was a dangerous place, and that was the safest idea we had. It was a Berserker servant. They're very dangerous.
The mana the tree is drawing from the area might be making it stronger, might be poisoning it.
You've met one person recently who definitely spent a lot of time with the more necrotic energies. And as you recall, Crosby's got a lot of city miles on him. It seems like drawing heavily on necromantic forces, it makes you strong, but it has a lot of side effects. And so it's quite possible that this being a vampiric tree, that drawing from that could help it. It might be giving it power that it needs at a cost of, long term. It might shorten its overall lifespan, but you don't want it to kill you with extra power first. So it's kind of up to you.
I do think that if we were to get to the ley line in those haunted woods and I was able to redirect the ley line, it would help us. I think it can only be benefiting from those dark energies.
It sounds like we have a plan then. D&D is weird.